Hi friends, it's Sarah Millerhouse here, and I'm excited to share a layout with you today that I created using the May Project Life kit and also the Cardstock kit. So here I'm punching out some embellishments from that Project Life kit, and then I'm also going to be using an April, I think this is an April cut file. It's a rainbow with lots of hearts, and it's a fantastic cut file, and I'll be backing it with paper from the Cardstock kit, so lots of different colors of paper. I did cut those pieces of the rainbow and then ran them through my texture file just to be able to add some texture to all of those pieces and parts. So I did run each piece of the rainbow through that, and it makes an impact for sure on that cut file. So here I am using the Shimmers Slow Ocean. This was from a past color kit to paint some of the hearts that are going to be on the cut file. And I'm going to sit those off to dry for a second, and then you'll see me putting them on the cut file. I am going to pop up those little hearts on that cut file. I also used one of the May die cuts, this beautiful butterfly. I love these butterflies. They're super intricate and have lots of detailing on them. So I did cut that from one of those cards from the Project Life kit. And then I'm also going to back the butterfly. You'll see me do it here in a second. I'm going to back the butterfly with yellow just to make it a little bit easier to see on the layout. So my photo here, I am cutting it using one of my circle cutter systems. It's an old school Creative Memories circle cutter system that I've been using for a long time, and it still works really well, so I still use it. And then I backed that with one of the pieces of patterned paper from that Project Life kit. I also distressed the edges there, you saw, and then I am going to pop up that the photo and the rainbow and then those hearts on the cut file with craft foam. So I'm going to do all of those things. And then here I'm tracing where that rainbow is going to go on my layout. And then I will be adding some color to that background. So I started with the Catherine Pooler Minted ink, and I just used my ink blending tool to kind of spread that around. I also just took the ink pad and used it directly on the paper, and then used my ink blending tool to go and soften some of those edges. And then I am going to be adding a little bit more color on top of that as well, using that same shimmers that I used to paint the hearts. I'm going to be using on top of that minted ink. The purpose of having the ink there, not only did it tell me where I needed the rest of my mediums to go, but on the edges it does give kind of a soft glow around where the shimmers medium that I added on top of it is. So it just kind of helps give a more layered look. You don't have to do that step. You could just use the shimmers if you wanted to. So here I'm adding some water. This formula does come wet, so the pot of color already has that liquid in there, and then you can just add a little bit more to your whatever surface it is that you're painting on to spread that around a little bit easier. Then I also added some splatters. And then here I'm also going to come back in with the Creamy's La Peace Dance. This is also from a past color kit, and I am just adding splatters of that in the green, in the other color, so that it gives it a little bit of dimension and a little bit of visual interest. It's not super overpowering because I didn't let it sit for very long to dry, but I did want it to give it some more detailing there. So once I had everything kind of where I wanted it to go, I saw that there were a couple of places I needed to go back and add a little bit more color, so I did that. You'll see me do that a couple of times. So here I am just popping up that rainbow on craft foam. This is just cheap craft foam from my local craft store. I add my own adhesive to it, and that just helps the rainbow pop up a little bit off the background. And then here I'm adding yellow ink with an ink blending tool to that background. And then this is another cut file. I think it was also an April cut file, might have been a March cut file, but it's the sun rays. And so I cut that cut file pretty small, and then I'm going in and adding it to the top corner of my layout here. And then I'm going to pop it up. And I'm not adhering down any of the rays of the sun. I folded those up and kind of gave them a very textured look. And then those will be just loose on the layout. So I just adhered down the sun in the middle. And then had the rays kind of poking out around the rainbow. And then here are my butterflies. You can see they were kind of hard to see on top of that rainbow. So I am going to go off to the side. So I used the negative of the die cut that I had cut out. So just the paper that I had cut it out of, I used that to trace on the back of the solid yellow patterned paper so that I could use that butterfly to layer with the die cut. So I did trace it on the back just so that you couldn't see my pencil marks. So I turned it over and traced it on the back there. And then I'm gonna layer those together, and I am gonna add a little bit of thread to hold those together. I didn't wanna glue them down. I wanted you to be able to see both layers of the butterfly on the finished layout. So I am gonna just poke a couple of holes here in each of those, and then I'm gonna add some thread. All right, and now they're on the layout, and you can see them a little bit better. And then down here in the bottom right corner, I'm gonna add a cluster of embellishments and all kinds of little sweet things from this kit. So I did fast forward there a little bit, added a few more things, added some stickers and some of those ephemera pieces that I die cut out. Also used the stamp set to stamp the word. I think it says "Love This." And then on my photo, this is a layout focused on my husband and what a great dad he is. So I am using the alpha from that Project Life kit. I used the alpha that's on the back. It's a more lime green, and I put the title right on my photo, and it says "The Best Dad." And then here I'm going back and adding a little bit more color because there were a couple of little places that needed that. And then I'm also using the floral stamp from the stamp set that's in the Project Life kit. And I'm just using some watercolor markers that I have to color that in. I did stamp it with archival ink because I knew I was going to be adding color to the image. I didn't want the black ink to bleed. So if you have like the Catherine Pooler ink from one of the past color kits, that black ink, it's water reactive. So if you're using a wet, like a watercolor marker or something like that, your black ink might bleed. So for that reason, I used the archival ink. It's permanent and it doesn't move, and it's not water reactive or liquid reactive. So that's just a little tip to help your stamping go a little bit easier. So I'm adding some different colors and some detailing. I did focus on using colors that were in the pattern papers that I had used and in the embellishments that were already in the cluster down there. And I'm going to fussy cut those out, each of those little images, and then I'm going to add them down in the bottom right of the layout to contribute to that cluster below and around my photo. And then I do use Nuvo, the Nuvo Glimmer Mist from a past color kit. I do paint those flowers just to give them a little shimmer and shine. So I did that off camera. And then here what I'm doing is I'm adding the Nuvo Shimmer Powder drops to add some detailing to that cluster. And then off camera, I did add some Catherine Pooler ink in the color of Oh Boy up there in the right-hand corner, just to add a little bit more blue to the sky. And there are my close-up photos. I hope you enjoyed the process. And if you have any questions, be sure to pop them down in the comments. And then all of the information to subscribe is linked below. And I hope you have an awesome day. Bye, guys.